The first thing we worked on, John, was your kind of your chipping technique, chipping and pitching technique. And your initial technique was to play the ball back so your hands were quite a bit forward in front of the ball. That is a technique that you might choose to use on certain types of shots around the green. But I wanted to introduce to you other techniques that so you could start expanding your options when you start playing golf. And the first adjustment was to move the ball further forward in your stance. So you can certainly see on the right, after we made some adjustments, that we moved the ball a little bit closer to your left foot than the right foot. What that does is it creates a different shaft angle. So on the left, you had a pretty severe shaft angle and a little bit softened angle. It's still a forward angle, but it's not as severe as before. And what this does, the one on the left, when it's that far forward, the leading edge of the club has a tendency to maybe dig into the ground, whereas the one on the right, the little bulge under the leading edge has a chance to kind of slide through the ground and not get stuck as easily. The second thing we worked on was the hinge and hold technique. On the left, when you took it back, you would go about, this would be the end of your backswing. And then as you come through, you would rehinge on the other side, and this would be the length of your follow through. And you had a tendency to fold this arm, and it wasn't an extended type of finish. And then we worked on the hinge and hold type of technique, which would send the ball about the same distance, but was a little bit more compact and simpler. And the ball stopped even a little bit better because of the new ball position. It would go a little higher. And on that technique, you took it back a little shorter from here, and you would finish a lot shorter here. So your follow through was shorter than your backswing, and you also had a little straighter arm here. So much better extension in the finish. And you executed that new technique really well. And so as you continue to practice, that'll get even better. I had mentioned that between the two techniques, the one that you would use more often would be the one on the right. The hinge and hold would be your almost your standard and stock technique for most chips and pitches. And that the type of pitch shot that would require a rehinging the club up in the air higher, like you have on the left, would be something you would do less often. Only special shots, and I use the phrase flop shots, I think, in talking with you. But as you continue practicing, I would focus now more on practicing the hinge and hold swing. John, now we're going to look at your full swing with the iron. And the first, we're going to see the swing before we started working on a new finish. You can see how you finish with your eyes still down to the ground. You're not really facing the target. Your back foot is not completely turned. And what you want to have is a complete finish to the target where your chest, hips, knees, your back foot is on the toe. That would be the more appropriate finish. And so that's what we worked on mostly during this session. Now let's look at your swing after we'd worked on it, improving that finish.
Good one. Perfect. Oh, it felt good.
Good.
Now you can see how you are facing the target. Your back foot is off the ground. Every part of your body is facing the target. Eyes looking. Now you can follow the ball in the sky. Now you can see where it lands. So this is a much better finish. John, your finish looks really good now. And the next part of the swing that I want to focus on will be how your lower body moves through impact. I have Grant Wade on the left, and both of you are paused in the 5 position. This is the first step in the downswing towards the golf ball. This is when the left arm is parallel to the ground on the downswing. Both of you look very similar in this position. I'm now going to move Grant towards the ball and through impact, and I want to focus on his right hip and his right knee and right foot. As he comes through, his knee will continue moving forward and his right hip will continue moving forward, turning, 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 turning. And now when he gets into this position where his right arm is parallel to the ground, his right pocket and right knee are right on top of his left foot. And he's come off the ground with his back foot. So now I'm going to move you through impact to the 9th position. Let me mark the knee position at the start of this down move. And then as you come through, as you hit the ball, your knee is still in the same place it basically was in the 5 position. It's still in the same place. You haven't really turned your lower body much at all. And when your arm gets pretty much parallel to the ground on the other side, when your right arm gets in the 9th position, your right pocket is still back behind the foot. It's not on top of the left foot. Your knee is still behind, and you really haven't released that foot the same way. So I would like to work on this turn, the lower hip turn. We worked a little bit at the end of the session of trying to get that right hip to turn around. I use the image, you almost want to feel like you're hitting the ball with the right hip. And I want to focus more on that next time we meet. And when we work on that lower body action, it will also create a little better finish. You can see how Grant finishes with a little arch in his back, and he's tilted back slightly because he's driven his lower body under his head. And you can see how you're leaning forward a little bit. I've drawn a red line from the tip of the toe straight up, and you can see how Grant is leaning back away from that line, and you're bending forward through that line. But we'll work on the lower body first, and that will then produce a better finish.